Welcome to the continuation of steps 2 and 3. Starting off here, I thought I'd show what the full set of wheels looks like and the full set of return rollers look like compared to their trumpeter counterparts. So you can see here quite a bit of difference. Here I may end up having to lower the height of this return roller just a bit, we'll see, but definitely a big difference over what Tamiya offers. And then for the wheels, I think it's hard to see right off the bat the difference between them in detail, but essentially the ones that I made, the hubs are fatter and wider and have the extra detail in them versus the Tamiya ones. They tend to be narrower and stick out more, and of course they have this rim detail that doesn't exist, and it doesn't really do anything, just goes straight back versus the cut behind. And so it's those kind of details that I worked on, that I put in, and that I was worried about that are there. So that's what one full side would look like with all the new parts. I did remove the final drive cover on this side and got a reprint of it. I'm going to put it in so that I get it on there better. It takes a little bit of trimming on this right here in the front. I'm going to get the file to help point this out. But you can see I did a little bit of filing down the sides here and across the top, and then just this little part right here, and that's because when you put this plate on and glue it, you've got a little bit of maneuver room. So mine, it looks a little tight, and if you put it on a little bit, you know, just a half a millimeter or a tenth of a millimeter higher, then it wouldn't touch this at all and everything would fit snug. It might even be better to put these inserts in first before putting this plate on. I don't know, but I've got it to where it's fitting in here fine, and it doesn't take really much of anything to do, just a little bit of trimming here and there, and fits in there just the way it should. I'm happy with how it looks anyways. The next part that I wanted to do real quick, which is why I'm doing this video, is dealing with the back doors. So here's basically the back of the vehicle and the two side supports, and this is crucial for putting on the guard that goes just in front of the idler mount on basically the driver's side of the vehicle in the back. So what I'm going to do is just get this put together real quick so we can get through essentially what is step 3 as well, and we'll talk about the lower fenders after I get this on. So glue goes on, and as you can see, the lines, the reinforcement bars, whatever you want to call them, go towards the bottom and the inside. So just like that right there, and I will add a little bit of glue right here so that it can run in there. Do this side as well real quick, remembering that the reinforcement bars go on the bottom. So essentially the other way to look at it is that the angled part goes towards top, like so. There really isn't a whole lot of leeway, but that sets that up. Now what I find is cool is, not having had any of this built up, I just quick put this piece here that I created up against it, and it lines up just like it should, and I'm pretty freaking stoked by that. I think that's pretty awesome. Is it perfect? No. Is this kit perfect? No. Is this going to look a lot better? Yes. Is this fun? Sure. I'm actually enjoying myself in making these parts and making this better, and passing that information along to you, because I know that there are a ton of these Tamiya kits out there compared to the main kit or the Orochi slash, I can't remember the other name, but you know, the other kits are out there a little bit better in this, but this is working. You know, this will do. So I'm going to take this back off and glue it on. Just adding some glue on the inside of this right here. Just this right there to start with, and not the corner boxes. I didn't put glue under there yet, just because I don't want to have to rush this. I want this placed in. It's good right there. Then I come from the back side and just kind of make sure that there's been some glue so that this all fits snug and square. And I think, you know, it looks pretty good. Now I can go to gluing on that corner and this corner, like so. Not everything fits perfectly without a little bit of a gap, so be aware. It's just kind of the nature of the beast in this case. I mean, it sounds kind of sad, but you know, one, I don't know how old these molds are. You gotta imagine that they're getting a little up there in age. And two, for all the vaunted expectation of flawless engineering from a Tamiya kit, this was made in a different era, back in the 1980s. There wasn't a lot of information on stuff, so not everything is probably going to fit exactly the way it should. You know, look at the thickness in here of that, and then you get that gap at the bottom. I'd rather have the gap not be at the bottom and then deal with this by trimming it up later. That's my personal opinion. Plus I get this and these corners to be more square and more level to each other, and the bottom is more level to itself. And this all comes in later. I've been going over previous work other people have done on this kit and what needs to be done, and this area in the back is messed up compared to the real thing. I don't want to deal with it. I don't think that it's worth the trouble to make that area better, especially since if you're really worried about it, I would highly recommend going and buying the Meng kit. If, and I can't stress this enough, if what you want is an M2A3. And the same thing with the Orochi kit. Now, if you want to go to an M2A1 or an M3A1 or, you know, so on and so forth, you're going to have to basically work with the Tamiya kit, because it's more accurate to the earlier version, obviously, and it's going to be an easier start, if I'm conveying that right. So then here's where putting this part comes in, and you can see now that I've got that piece in there, and when I put this in right here, you know, there's room. I'm not too crazy, I'm not too far out as far as all that goes. What I would say is that this right here compared to this right here is a little too far out, but that's something I can modify, I think, fairly quickly. Here I'm going to do that as well, so I'll have to reprint it, but I'll get something in there that looks a little bit closer. I like the look of where this is right here. And I don't have the proper part, but you can see that I'll put this on like it belonged there. Although actually it should be lower. Ugh, this gets to be a bit much sometimes, and I just don't have that other part handy, so it's going to be a little bit lower. But anyways, it would fit about right there. It's right about where this goes. So everything seems to be well. The only thing that I also noticed with this work is taking the Tamiya idler. It's got a lot of this extra space around in the back, which it shouldn't, and this does not, it matches up well in that regard, but I've got to make this peg a little bit thicker so that it will just slide on and stick. So those are the challenges. The next set of challenges that I want to point out is that you've got this right here, this general shape for the fenders. And in real life, the fender is basically bolted onto a little strap of metal that's right there. Not sure if I'm going to worry about it or not. Here we go. Put it this way. When I put this on, like so, I mean, if nothing else, there should be a little strap of metal right there with bolt heads on it so that it's securing down the flap itself, and there should be some sort of definition because this is a mud flap. This should probably hang down more. I'm thinking I may quick go in and just design a new mud flap so I can just glue it at the bottom of that and call it done. But I'm also going to have to fill these holes in. And how I'll do that is I'm going to get some scrap plastic. If I have some here real quick, I should. And this is kind of, if you want, this is kind of a neat thing you can do, is take a piece of scrap plastic. You know, this is what I've got. Take a hole punch. This is what I've got, something I picked up at a hobby store, or a craft store. But this is a little bit thicker plastic. There's one. There's two. Real simple. Get the plastic pieces that I just created out. I swear this is always the hardest part of it. Just getting them to come out. Like so. Now you can use a thinner plastic than I did. I just grabbed something off my workbench that was sitting there, scrap plastic. But here are the holes right here. And I'm just going to take this. Now obviously I'm not putting an interior in, so it's not going to matter. That fills one hole, that fills the second hole. And then make sure that this gets secured on well. I'll let this sit for, so there you go. I'll let this sit for overnight, 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever, just to get those filled in. You can see they're filled in from this side now. And then I'm just going to put putty through the whole shellac thing. Just cover it up, sand it down, no problem. I'm going to now do the same thing over on this side for the hole back here. Let's see if I have something a little bit thinner. This is where the modeler being lazy comes in. I don't want to get up and get a sheet of plastic, and I know there's something around, and sure enough there is. This is about 4 times thinner. So I think that this will work just fine, and then just punch out my hole. There's one more there. Although I don't know if that actually went in or not. There's 2. There's 3. There's 4. Now I just have to look and see if that part went flying or if it's in there. I guess I'll have to count it out when I open up the bottom. Oh, it's in there, so didn't go flying out. So now I've got the one for the front, one for the other side front. And for whatever reason, whenever I cut these out, they seem to have an enormous amount of static electricity on them. It just doesn't make sense to me. Why would they have so much static electricity from just being punched out of plastic? Sure, there is a materials physicist out there or engineer that can sit and explain it all. And if anybody knows, let me know. I'd actually be interested in hearing. So there's the hole right there. That is the problem. That's done. Add a little more. I'm not too worried about putting too much plastic cement on this side because I want these plugs to just kind of melt in really nice. I'm not worried about it being sharp detail. I'm worried about it being strong enough to keep the putty in place and not to buckle at any given time and ruin the putty. I don't want to get this thing almost painted and then find out, oh, I should have put just a little bit more glue in there to keep it solid. So that's done. Right there, all those holes are plugged. Now, I'm thinking I want to plug that bottom hole, and in that case, I want to use a regular hole punch. Yeah, there, I'm going to get the camera, sorry about that. Which might be harder for me to find. For some reason, whenever I put all my hole punches together, it seems like the regular one wanders around the house a bit much, and I suppose that's a possibility. So, found my regular hole punch. Just a simple kind of nondescript hole puncher. But it's got a big enough opening that piece that I create is going to be usable for covering that hole right there. So there's that right there. And again, a little bit of glue. And boom. Now I'm not going to worry about doing this side there with a hole punch or anything like that. I'm going to use, actually, I want to use, I guess I don't have it. Just cut out, or I can knock out some circles to put on there like I was doing before. Let's try that. See how it works on the one side. Now that's a good point, you know. Okay, so I'm going to use these plastic pieces for filling that in. How is that going to work? I'm assuming it's going to work just dandy and there will be no problems whatsoever, but I'm not 100% sure. So do one side. I mean, first of all, we're filling holes, so it's not that important, but you know, if you're really worried about it, do one side first. Oh, look, that worked out great. I was thinking about just using a little strip of plastic, but with this knob right there potentially getting in the way and not allowing it, unlike this side here where I could just put it in, I thought, whatever, I'll just quick do that. And for the other side, I'm just gonna cut out a quick piece like so. Just a scrap piece, no big deal. Put that up there. And that's covered as well. I'm going to put a little more glue on it here in a minute. Now all these potential problems that I had waiting for me for when I fill holes and so on, they're covered. I just can't immediately dive in and fill them with putty or whatever, because right now, and there you can see where some of the extra glue has come out, so you gotta be careful of that as well. And if you do get a little bit of extra glue and it's made a little ridge, take a little bit of glue, just kind of move it around to get that cleaned up. Forehand, this is all going to get puttied over and cleaned up. I'm going to look into, I am assuming right now that there is a weld line that runs through here to weld this back plate on. I don't know that for certain. So I'm going to look into my resources and see if I can find out if that's true or not. In which case I'm going to putty all of this up, including where the doors are going to end up going, and that's going to be its own special problem. Putty this all up, cut it, get it all nice and smooth and like it should be, and then add in the weld details if needed. That's going to make that a lot easier and nicer looking. Even though it's some of it may be hidden behind the side skirts and not seen, I'll know it was done right. I'll be able to sleep at night. And there again is the part in place right here. The only thing I've got to do is, as I said, probably just dealing with this lower piece, just extend it out more so that it fills in that area and that matches the prototype a little bit better. And I don't want to put this on until I've got these holes dealt with. Deal with that in the next step. Again, I'm going to look into making new fenders as well. Going and looking at here, the idlers. The idlers that the Tamiya kit come with are good enough in my mind. They're a little flat on the inside and lack a little bit of detail, but I wasn't going to lose any sleep over them. I've got to figure out if just making a thicker post is going to be enough to fix this, or if this has to be trimmed off, or if I just need to redo the idlers. And I'm gonna say I'm not looking forward to it, but I'll do it if I have to, just to get it done right. And for the sprockets themselves, which are located up here, I am not dealing with those right now. The ones in the kit are not great. I'm in process of working on them and making new ones, but they're tricky, and I have to admit, it's three-dimensional design for a guy who never learned anything formally on CAD. I'll get around to it if I can, but I'd like to leave this here right now. I'll pick up the rest of step 3 tomorrow. We'll get this all sorted out and done so we can move on to step 4 and really start cracking forward. Thanks for sticking around with me, and I'll see you guys later.